Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's now 6:03 here, January 7th, 2014. We're here in City Hall at 116th West Bridge Street, Granbury, Texas. Now called the City Council to order. I'd like to first call, for our invitation, call Corey Moses with the First Methodist Church to lead us in our invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance and then the Texas Pledge. All rise, please.
Let us pray. Almighty God, at all times you are good. Your mercies are new every morning, and your grace is sufficient each day. Father, you are the great creator of all that we know and all that we will know. You continue to bless us beyond measure. Gracious God, we thank you for the possibilities within this council. Almighty God, here in this room there is a gathering of great hearts and minds that care deeply for this city and your beloved children that reside herein. May you grant these your servants wisdom to make the decisions that will best serve our city. Be glorified in their work tonight. May you grant them discernment, great God, and may you receive all the glory and honor in all that they do. Bless their time together. Bless each of them here this evening as they continue the work that you have so graciously gifted them to. And Father, we come to you humbly to not only invite, but to welcome your Holy Spirit here with us, guiding and directing. We ask all this in the name of our Savior and Redeemer, in the name of Christ our King. Amen.
Amen. Please follow me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible. I'd like to make one quick announcement. I know we have a lot of folks out here that would like to speak tonight on certain issues. Tonight is open mic night, and if you wish to address the council tonight, you can sign. There's a sheet outside the door there. I'll give you a little opportunity here to sign up to speak with the council and turn your forms in to the city secretary sitting over here to my far left or far right there. If you would, please. That brings us to our open mic. The City Council provides an opportunity for citizens to present concerns or address issues that are not matters of consideration listed on a posted meeting agenda during this open mic session. At that period, the council meeting at one time per the month. The person wishing to address the City Council must first register with the City Secretary and provide the following information: their name, resident address, daytime telephone number, and the subject matter to be presented. Only one person may approach the microphone at any one time, and only that person at the microphone, upon recognition by the presiding officer, will be allowed to speak for no more than 3 minutes unless otherwise directed by the presiding officer. The speakers must address their comments to the presiding officer rather than an individual city council member or the staff. The speakers may file copies of their remarks or supporting information with the city secretary, who will make the information available to the city council, the city manager, if requested. The council will be allowed to receive input or information for the future agenda items, but will not be allowed to enter into any discussion. The council shall allot a maximum of 30 minutes for this open mic session during the designated council meeting. So at this time, we'll get started with our open mic session. And I'll give them an opportunity, if there's some of them, I think some of them went out there to fill out the sheets. But at this time, we've got two of them. We've got a Mr. Breck Keen. I hope I pronounced that right. You want to come up to the mic, please?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Councilman. My name is Breck Keene. I come to you with Baton Rouge, Louisiana, but I'm associated with Prestwick Development, which is an Atlanta, Georgia-based organization.
Pull that mic up just a little bit. Now, I think the other one is working.
I'm here basically to introduce myself. I provided you information through the city secretary last evening regarding our proposed project, Autumn Park at Lake Granbury. It is a 72-unit multifamily rental community located on Autumn Park Drive, just around the corner from the Medical Center in Brookshires. We are proposing to apply for housing tax credit resources with the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs. The pre-applications are due next Thursday, January 16th. The final applications are due February the 28th. The housing tax credit program is an extremely competitive and highly oversubscribed program. And the resources are allocated across the state. You have a crowd here. There are four projects that are being proposed for your fine city. We're not here by accident. You're a growing city. You have wonderful school systems. It's a place, and you have a very, very strong apartment market. So it's a place. Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs encourages us to try to build these housing tax credit communities. Can't do it alone. We need the support of the Granbury community, and specifically we need the support of resolution of support from the City Council, which is on your agenda tonight. Provided a lot of the specific project-based information for you. I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you for your time and your consideration of support.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Michael Wynn.
Good evening. My name is Michael Wynn. I represent Atlantic Housing Foundation, and similar to prior speaker, I'm here to introduce ourselves and talk about our project. I want to thank you for your consideration of the possible support of housing tax credits. Our project is a mixed income, multifamily project that we're proposing, 80 units of which will be restricted for hardworking families making 50 to 60% of the area median income, with another 70 at market rate. We obviously, we're very excited about this project. We think a great deal about the city. There's quite a bit of drivers that we think is going to make this project very successful. So we are applying for tax credit on a partial part of this project. This project is located on Davis and 377. It's on a 12.4 acre parcel of land that's already zoned for this purpose. And we also have left some information, some propaganda on our entity, and some information on the type of project we're trying to build with the city secretary. And once again, appreciate the opportunity and appreciate your possible consideration of support for tax credit projects.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Need any more details? That concludes our open mic. Our next item would be our consent agenda, that being the approval of the council minutes of the meeting of December 18th, 2013. Council, you've all had an opportunity to review those minutes. At this time, are there any changes to the minutes in discussion? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the council minutes of December 18th, 2013. I have a motion by Councilman Parsons and a second by Councilman Couch. Is there any more discussion, council? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Those minutes are approved. Our next item is our deliberation agenda, the first item being the request of Luton Ranch West LP to, it's a twofold here, to execute a public improvement agreement for public water and wastewater for the proposed development in the Luton Ranch West addition. Value of this public improvement are estimated at $107,604. And also a public hearing regarding the final plat of a 9.723 acre tract of the Robert Merritt Survey abstract number 355, as Lot 1, Lot 2, and Lot 4, Block 1 of the Luton Ranch West Addition, Phase 2, and consider approval of this said plat, this said final plat. This property is located west of the intersection of Meander Road and Highway 377 East. I'd like to call upon Scott Softep to go ahead and give us some information on this, please.
Thank you, Mayor, Council, Mr. Manager. This particular application is a site that we've seen before in the form of a preliminary plat. The area that's bounded generally in the corporate boundary, highlighted in pink, denoted as light commercial on your zoning map, is the area that's in question. You can see the square to the bottom. That's the current platted site of the Taco Casa. So this is the area that's just north of that, outside of the platted Taco Casa site. What we're looking at is a final plat application. This is consistent as presented with the approved preliminary plat that was revisited by the city some time ago, about a year ago. There are a few minor changes from the preliminary that we are familiar with when it was first presented to City Council. First and foremost is the drainage system. If you're familiar with the site, see if I can get to an aerial shot, you can see the area just to the north that's outside the platted boundary. You'll notice there's a head wall where the storm pipe exits stormwater flows from the site on the opposite side of Meander Road, and you see a lot of riprap to the north. That particular drainage facility is being proposed to be relocated, and that area is denoted in blue just to the north, relocated to a underground storm pipe that's shown in red just north of the boundary of the platted area. So along with this proposal, we'll have water, we'll have sanitary sewer on the interior of the site that's connected to central lines available along the street frontages. The private drainage system, however, is being relocated. It's a mutual concern by both the developer, Vista Properties, as well as the owner of the property to the north, that they want that rock riprap moved over. It's a little bit intrusive and unsightly for passerbyers along Meander Road. So they're trying to relocate that further to the west. I can tell you our city engineer with Friesen Nichols has looked at the stormwater design and is comfortable with the new pipe relocation, the head wall design, and the storm flows coming out of that pipe meeting the adopted requirements for stormwater design for the city of Granbury. So that letter is also in your agenda packet from our city engineer, Friesen Nichols, saying that they're comfortable with it as presented. Also, along with the plat application, we have a variance request to minimize the required easement width for a water line, a length of water line interior to the site from 15 feet to 10 feet. That's section 3.3A of our design standards contained within the subdivision ordinance. This is the location you can see to your left of the variance request supporting that 10-foot easement width. We've conversed at DRC. The Development Committee review staff, inclusive of the Public Works Department and the city engineer, are supporting the variance as presented by the applicant. So with that all rolled in, P&Z and city staff are recommending approval of the variance to section 3.3A regarding the substandard 10-foot width in lieu of the 15-foot easement width, approval of the final plat application, but as a part of the motion, we're rolling in conditions to the approval stating that due to the new drainage design, the approval's conditioned on, one, the new easement being dedicated via separate instrument. It's off-site, so it has to be dedicated by Mr. John Henry Luton. Secondly, the design meeting the city criteria for stormwater design is submitted to the city engineer and approved, and I can tell you item number 2 has already been accomplished. And third, and probably more importantly, the drainage infrastructure contained within the easement is constructed and accepted by the city prior to the deconstruction and abandonment of the off-site private drainage easement. More simply, we want the new storm pipe to be connected, installed, and the head wall at the new location to be operative before the deconstruction or the demolition of the head wall, because what that pipe is serving is the HEB Vista site development on the opposite side, the east side of Meander Road. So we don't want that crushed and inoperative until the new pipe is installed and inspected by our city staff. So again, to sum, approval of the variance and associated final plat with the conditions as mentioned and as depicted on your screen.
Thank you, Scott. At this time, I'll go ahead and open up the public hearing involving the final plat. Does anybody in the public want to speak on the final plat part of this? I'll close that public hearing. Council, is there any discussion or questions on this issue?
I have one, Mayor.
Councilman Allen?
Scott, do you have any drawings or anything to show us where that drain is going to be tied in to in the back here?
If you can look on the image, you can see that there's a, basically that red line that comes up that follows that blue line.
Mm-hmm.
That pipe that actually is attached to coming out of the Meander right-of-way area heading west will be attached to at that point, and then follow that curvature of the red line, and then traversing to the west. So about where that point is, where you see that 536, is where that connection is going to be made.
So we're not going to be dumping any water on Old Granbury Road, right?
No, sir.
And this property butts up to Granbury Road, right?
This property, I don't know if the John Henry Luton track goes all the way to Old Granbury Road or not.
No, this piece of property does not go that far. That's
Go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm
to the
sorry.
secretary, please.
Trace Strevey with Baird Hampton and Brown Engineers, and I'm the civil engineer for the project. It does not go that far north. If you can look at that picture right there, what happens is there's a floodplain, there's a 100-year floodplain that runs along that creek channel through there. Obviously, I would assume that you've all driven over that culvert bridge that's downstream of that pond. What happens right now, the water, that basin that's there is actually not a flow control structure. It's a sedimentation basin that was built to manage the stormwater pollution prevention plan requirements from the bigger HEB site on the east side of Meander Road. So what we're proposing to do is just take that out and organize the drainage so that it's further away from Meander Road, but it all still goes into that floodplain just like it always has. So no water is going on to Meander, and no water is making it past that floodplain all the way up to Old Granbury Road.
Thank you.
Josh, you talked about the easement dedication by John Henry Luton, right?
Right.
Have we talked to him about that yet, or is that?
The applicant, Vista, as well as Trace, is aware that that's going to be a requirement, and we'll actually file that instrument at the same time we file the plat.
Okay.
And that plat will have the instrument documentation number recorded on the plat showing that that's been dedicated, properly dedicated.
I can explain why that's not completed today. The parent document that created the original easement is a big document that that combined about 5 or 6 different easements and agreements associated again with HEB and with the bigger Luton, the original Luton development. So we have multiple sections, and what we're doing is modifying section E of this parent document, and that has to be routed and approved by every owner of the property on the east side of Meander Road, the original Luton development. So as I understand it, those easements were executed by HEB and the other building owners on Monday, yesterday. I just don't have the filed copies back with me today. So it's just with the holidays and everything, we just couldn't get everybody at the table to sign it and all the lawyers to agree on the language and all the rest of it. But believe me, I believe it's been approved. I just don't have it with me. So the conditions that Scott's imposed, number 1 was that the easement's filed and recorded. I believe we have that handled. We have no problem with that. We've complied with number 2. We have sign off from, the city engineer signed off on our design. And number 3, what we're going to do is remove that head wall and extend the pipe to the west and construct a new outfall location. And the only, hopefully, arrangement we can make with the inspectors is we do want to take the riprap that's there on the pond and use it for our riprap downstream. But before we get to that point, all the pipes will be connected and it'll all be complete. So I don't foresee any difficulty working with the city on the 3 conditions at all. I can explain really quick the variance request from the 15-foot easement to the 10-foot easement. We have a section of water line. The city was requiring us to build a loop system through the site. And where that red line is, it parallels the overhead electric easement that runs down the west side of that property. And the Brazos Electric Cooperative has some requirements for how close a parallel utility can be to the actual overhead line. And we just had to, that 5 feet made a big difference to us being able to fit that in, with the Brazos Electric requirements. So I mean, again, I think we've all worked together on the job, and we have a pretty project, something we can all be proud of.
Thank you. Any questions for this gentleman, council? Council, any more discussion? Okay, I'll entertain a motion for, first of all, for the public improvement agreement. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
What is your motion, Mr. Allen?
Go with the public, you can read it. With the number one, execute a public improvement agreement, PIA, for public water, wastewater for the proposed development on Luton Ranch, West Addition,
With the variance.
with a variance,
Go ahead and reread that again, Mr. Allen.
Execute a public improvement agreement, PIA, for public water and wastewater for the proposed development of Luton Ranch, West Addition. Value of public improvements are estimated at $107,604. In public hearing regarding the final plat of a 9.723 acre tract of Roberts Merritt Survey, abstract number 355, as Lot 1, Lot 2, and Lot 4, Block 1 of the Luton Ranch, West Addition.
Okay, we've got a motion, council, to approve the public improvement agreement here. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a second by Councilman Perkle. Any more discussion, council? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. That one is approved. Our next one's going to be a motion to approve the final plat with the conditions of the new easement dedication and design meet the city criteria provided by the Office of City Engineering Public Works Review, and also the drainage infrastructure contained within the easement. Do we have a motion on that one? And with the variance of the 10-foot wide utility easement to contain a public water main in lieu of the requirement of the 15-foot wide utility easement. Help you out there, council. We have a motion by Councilman Couch. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a second by Councilperson Myers. Any more discussion, council? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. That one is approved. Our next one is a public hearing regarding a request of Whitney Baird of All Seasons Self-Storage for a specific use permit for 1400 West Weatherford Highway, to allow truck and bus rental or leasing in a heavy commercial zoning district. The approval of an ordinance providing for the said SUP. Scott, want to enlighten us on that a little bit?
Thank you, Mayor. This is the zoning map of the location. This is located just north of the downtown area in a existing heavy commercial zone district. What we have from the applicant is a site plan depicting how they're going to lay the vehicles out on site. We saw an application like this, somewhat similar, by Ms. Mary Pike on Acton Road. Similarly, the P&Z and staff deliberated at the P&Z Commission and want to impose the same term limitation, seeing how the business would operate, more specifically along the street frontage and the presentation of the materials and the vehicles along the street frontage to see aesthetically how it would look coming in and out of the city. On that previous application, there was a 2-year term limitation. P&Z decided equitably that they wanted to treat this applicant similarly. So they supported the request to allow for the SUP in the heavy commercial zone district, provided that a 2-year term limitation be placed on the SUP for reevaluation after that 2-year term.
Thank you, Scott. I'll now open up the public hearing. Is there anybody in the public who'd like to talk on this topic? If not, I'll close the public hearing. Council, is there any discussion or concerns on this issue?
Mayor, I guess I'm
Councilman
got
Allen?
a question on everything, but I know on Mary's, we put a limit on there, how many they could park and all that stuff.
That's correct.
Do we have that on here?
They actually discussed that, Councilman Allen, at the P&Z meeting, and the one thing that they deliberated on, and in this particular application, you'll see that there's more warehouses proximate to this area as opposed to retail offices that were out and about the area on Acton Road. So they felt that the use was a little more consistent in this area, and they didn't want to bar the number of vehicles. They just didn't want to get the vehicles out of control, and they were comfortable not putting a limitation and accepting the numerical count that was presented by the applicant in the site plan. You can see closer to the road, you'll see A1 and A2, where they're delineating the number of vehicles, as opposed to Ms. Pike that didn't have a number at the time when they approached P&Z. So P&Z, during their deliberations, accepted what was actually being proposed by the applicant, but still remaining with the 2-year term.
Well, I agree that it's more of an industrial area than what the other one was, but on the
Correct.
other hand, we don't look like a wrecking yard or a car lot down through there either.
This is an SUP, it's council's discretion. If they want to modify any part of this site plan that's being proposed by the applicant, they certainly have the latitude to do so. And just for record, the site plan depicts area A1 as 100 by 265, A2 is 50 by 265, and showing the number of cars out there. You can see A1, let's see if I could have 46 large trucks parked out there as depicted on their site plan, and A2 could have 23. I'm referring to the upper left-hand corner of their site plan. So that's the maximum value that that applicant is presenting. If the council feels that they need to alter that, they can do so.
You're talking about like a 20-foot van? Like a 20-foot box?
Like a large truck, could be a box truck.
And
They're
how
not
many
really
you say total
specific.
would be out there on the highway?
Pardon me?
How many was the total on the highway?
69.
69?
Well, I think that they could have up to that, right?
Up to 69, and that goes back to that depth of, looks like 150 foot back. You're looking at it. But that is you bring a very valid point regarding the amount of vehicles spread out along the street frontage, and certainly it's your discretion to say that's too many vehicles.
Scott, when you talked to these people, did they express how many they'd be wanting to have, or?
Councilman Allen, if you don't mind, we can see if the applicant's here and
Okay.
see why if I could defer back to the mayor.
Thank you, Doctor.
Yeah.
I'm Whitney Baird, and I'm with All Seasons Self-Storage. And we don't really anticipate having 70 vehicles parked out there. We just wanted to leave our options open. I believe that we would probably have no more than 30 parked out front right there, and it would be a mixture of the large trucks and the trailers, so it would be different sizes of equipment. But we would definitely make sure to keep it nice and orderly looking and organized, and we don't want it to look like a junkyard or a car lot or anything like that.
Have you ever had the rental trucks out there before?
We actually, in the past, we did,
Okay, you've been out there before.
yes.
Instead of a 2-year term, would you go for 1 year?
Would that be reapplying with the application fee and all that again?
I believe that's correct.
Yes.
We could do that for sure, yes. And we are prepared to put asphalt down on any areas that we're going to be parking the equipment.
Council, do we have any more questions for the
Thank you.
Council, you've heard that information there. Do we have a motion to on this topic? I know Councilman Allen, you indicated you'd like to see a year, maybe, possibly. And said that they would probably go to that.
Well, I do, Mayor, and I don't want to put anybody out of business. I mean, I want to get all the business we can here, but I sure would hate to put it with for 2 years if it doesn't look good, and we start getting complaints from the citizens about it. I'd go for a year, and I hate to ask the people that because I know it costs money to. What does it cost, Scott, to redo this?
It's a $250 application fee
$250.
to re-up the issue.
I hate to do this, but I want to make a motion to bring it down to a year, and then the next time it comes up, maybe we can extend it to 3 years. That'll make up the difference for us. That's my motion.
May I ask that you add the commitment to asphalt those areas?
Yes, sir.
You want to add that, Councilman Parker?
Yes.
Make sure we got a commitment to that.
Just,
Let me get this straight here.
just as a reference point, Mayor, the approved hard surface, either asphalt or concrete, is already a requirement in our ordinance. So
Okay.
you can put that as a condition, but that's a requirement
That's a
automatically in our
requirement. Okay.
ordinance.
Thank you
And
for that.
we won't issue the CO and allow the SUP to commence without the approved hard surface.
Councilman Parker, you want to amend your request there then, if it's already?
Just accept his original motion then, and then I'll second his original motion.
So I think we got a motion here from Councilman Allen to approve the SUP that the applicant presented in the application with the term of the SUP will expire in 1 year from the date of approval by the City Council expiring January 7th, 2015. Is that correct, Mr. Councilman Allen?
Yes, sir.
We have that motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
I'm sorry, I have a second by Councilman Parsons. Is there any more discussion, council? All in favor of that, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. That one is approved with those conditions. Our next item is a public hearing regarding the request of David Marshall and Janie Jones to replat a portion of Block 89 and all of Block 90 of the original town of Granbury as Lot 1, Block 90R of the original town of Granbury, and consider the approval of the said plat. The property is located in the 800 block of the west side of Thorpe Springs Road. Scott?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. What we have is a replat application. You can see the area that's bounded in aqua color, that we actually have 2 tracts of record that are recorded as part of the old platted area of downtown back in 1890. You can see a copy of that plat on the wall. In essence, they have 2 legitimate legal lots of record, which they can pull permits on 2 residential structures on these and get their water meters set. What's being proposed is to combine those 2 tracts, recorded tracts of record, into one single lot of record. And basically, we're decreasing the density from this from 2 residential lots to 1. So with that in mind, the replat does just that, create 1 lot of record out of 2 recorded tracts of the downtown area. We have 2 variances associated with this. Along the street frontage, we have a 6-inch water line. Our subdivision ordinance minimum requirement is 8 inches, excuse me. We've looked at our capacity on the 6-inch lines. There's ample capacity to serve the single unit that's being decreased in density. Also, we have a variance to 39, 45, and 46. That was the water 3684. There's a variance to the residential sidewalk standard. That's a 4-foot sidewalk behind, 5 foot behind the back of curb. The spirit and intent of the ordinance is to make sure that we get sidewalks in areas where blocks or neighborhoods have piecemeal sidewalks where we can link them together. This particular block and area does not have any sidewalks. So P&Z is recommending approval of the variance because it would look out of place just having a length of sidewalk in one house when all the other bordered areas are already platted, and there's probably no way the city can get sidewalks outside of a capital project funded by the city in the remaining balance of the block. So City staff and P&Z are recommending approval of the two variances as listed, as well as a replat as proposed by the applicant.
Thank you, Scott. I'll now open up the public hearing. Does anybody out in the public want to speak on this issue? Close the public hearing. Council, do you have any discussion or concerns on this item here? I've got one for you, Scott. Are you saying that they are going to be required the sidewalk, or they're not going to be required the sidewalk?
With the variance recommendation from P&Z and city staff, we're recommending approval of the variance whereby when they develop the site, they will not have to
Not
install.
have to, but they can do this at a later time if they choose to do that. They can put a sidewalk.
If they want to put a sidewalk in, they can do it at their own initiative. It just wouldn't be a city requirement.
Do we ever join in with the homeowners or people in that area, say, or any area, to where the city would say, you do part and we'll do the other half?
I've seen cities do that in the past, where either in older towns where the sidewalk is piecemeal or buckling because of the tree growth, whereby the neighborhood association or an aggregate of residential homeowners will come forward to the city and say, hey, we've got a little bit of seed money. Can you supply some capital improvement program funds in order to get a new sidewalk for our neighborhood block community in this area? And then basically that would be a budgetary council decision.
So if you had a group of people that came together and said, hey, we want sidewalk down to.
Absolutely. And if the council buys off that, they could roll it into the budget.
And they could also do that at a later date.
Absolutely.
Wasn't this done with the city?
Councilman Purple wants to see.
With the city around the square, we actually went with them to do the street, the sidewalk, because we're on the sidewalk. So we paid for half and they paid for half to get the
That-
sidewalk.
That's absolutely
So we've
correct.
already done it.
Okay. Council, any more discussion on this issue? Okay, I'll entertain a motion then to approve the final plat associated with the variance presented, which is section 3.6A, the sidewalk requirement, sidewalk not currently contiguous or adjacent to the property, and also section 3.9, 4.5, and 4.6, other requirements of the existing 6-inch water line to be upsized to the 8-inch. A density decrease is the result of the replat. Adequate pressure of volume existed to serve the site. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
So moved by Councilman Couch. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second by Councilman Parsons. Any more discussion, council? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. That one is approved. Our next item is a public hearing regarding the request of Tom Griswold of K Plaza Partners, LLC, to rezone 201, 205, and 206 Kings Plaza, being lots 6, 12, and 13 of the Kings Plaza addition, from interim holding to heavy commercial, and consider the approval of an ordinance providing for the said rezoning. Scott?
Thank you, Mayor, Council. This particular rezoning proposal takes an area that we annexed probably about 4 or 5 years ago, the Kings Plaza addition. You can see the area generally in green is interim holding. What happens when we annex properties, we put it in the interim holding category, which is a placeholder. That placeholder basically captures a grandfathered non-conforming use application of the development that's there on site until such time that there's an expansion or an intensification of the development that's there. You can see that this area borders some existing light commercial, and the darker red to the north and to the west is heavy commercial. What the applicant has done is aggregate these 3 lots and is proposing to actually regentrify or resuscitate some of the life into the buildings, which is a good thing. Made his proposal to the P&Z and city staff earlier prior to the P&Z meeting, and basically said, I would like to do some nice stuff on these 3 lots. And so what's being proposed is, in order to get certificates of occupancy in and out of there, he's looking at retail, office, and interior warehouse space in order to get COs in and out without any encumbrances, because the area is basically classified as grandfathered non-conforming. So the area is earmarked as commercial in our comprehensive land use plan. It's consistent with our comprehensive land use plan. It's an investment idea that would do well for the Kings Plaza area. There's probably some older dated buildings that need a little freshening up there, so city staff and P&Z welcome the idea. If you can look on your staff report, you'll know that the P&Z voted by 4-1, that there was a dissenting vote. And during the deliberations at the Planning and Zoning Commission, an adjoining property owner who did not file a protest petition but did speak on the matter was concerned about some stormwater flow areas. If you're familiar with the site and you've been out to the site during a fairly intense rain, you know there's some flooding problems. I can tell you that this property is currently platted. It's already recorded as lots of record. A land use entitlement or an SUP or a zoning change does not dive into the stormwater issues. So what was discussed, at least staff's response to the gentleman who had a concern on stormwater flows, was to document his concerns, possibly initiate those concerns with Public Works Department, and see if there's anything that can be done to help alleviate the problems. I can tell you generally his concerns were more toward the back side of the property, private side of the property, but there's still some issues with flatness of the area and stormwater runoff along Kings Plaza Drive as well. Ultimately, basically, we had to explain that stormwater is not, this isn't a plat, and stormwater deliberations aren't tied to a rezoning. The property's already developed, the plat's already filed for record, and the infrastructure supporting the platted area has already been finalized, for lack of a better term. So by a vote of 4-1, P&Z recommended approval of the proposal as being offered by the applicant, and I'll be more than happy to entertain any further questions that the council may have.
Thank you, Scott. I'll open up the public hearing at this time. Is there anybody in the public who'd like to speak on this matter? I'll close the public hearing. Council, is there any more thoughts, concerns on this issue? At this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve the approval of the 4-1 of the rezoning application as presented by the applicant. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion by Councilman Allen. Do I have a second? Second by Councilman Couch. More discussion, council? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. That one is approved. Our next item is a public hearing regarding a request of Hippen Investments v. LLC to amend the existing plan development and remove the reduction of parking requirements for office uses on lot 2R3, Block 3 of the Granbury Commerce Center addition, and consider approval of an ordinance providing for the said amendment. Office parking requirements would revert back to the base district on lot 2R3 only as a result of the proposed amendment. The property is located at 2175 Ruth Smith Drive. Scott, you want to enlighten us on that?
Absolutely, Mayor, Council. This particular recorded lot of record is part of the Granbury Commerce Center. We've seen the final plat application as a recorded lot. If you're familiar, we actually had a proposal by the applicant to set up a planned development industrial park for this. And as a part of setting up that PD, there was a lot of loosening of restrictions. One of the restrictions that was actually relaxed was the parking restrictions. And for this type of facility, the PD was set up to go from 1 to 2, one space per 250 square foot of office to 1 to 300, basically minimizing parking and the cost of parking. There has been a transfer of the property over to Texas Department of Family and Protective Services, and in reviewing the building plans and more particular the site plan of how they were laying out the parking, the applicant stated that they needed more parking to support. And the loosening up of the parking and reduction of that actually didn't fulfill their needs to supply parking for their clientele. So we have the plans reviewed in-house. It's just they weren't comfortable with the parking to meet their clientele's needs and the people operating at that site. So they wanted to actually go back to the adopted zoning ordinance requirements, which fit their parking needs, back to 300 square feet. So in essence, that's what this PD amendment does. The rezoning request is to amend the PD on this one lot only to allow for one space per 300 square foot of floor area for this single lot only. It does not affect any other lot within the PD. And it would support the site plan and the building plans that we have on file with the city in order to accommodate their parking needs. P&Z and city staff recommend approval of amending the PD as presented by the applicant, and I'll be happy to entertain any other questions should you have any.
Thank you, Scott. This time I'll open the public hearing. Does anybody in the public got any discussion on this issue? If not, I'll close the public hearing. Council, is there any more discussion or questions concerning this? Scott, I got one question. Am I hearing this right? We're going back to what we relaxed before on this? I mean, it's the way all the parking is out there right now, right?
That's correct. We're going back to the original base zoning requirements,
Which was built in and consistent with all the other lots.
which was if we were going with the straight office retail within an industrial complex and they had submitted plans, then we could have approved the building plans as submitted. But by the mere fact that they relaxed it, it went to 1 to 300, and we have a cap. The other little nuances, we have a cap on the amount of overage of parking that you can put in, which is limited to 25%, so that you don't get a sea of parking to support a small building there and get into stormwater concerns. So that kind of came into play as well. But this PD amendment will actually take it back and support the requesters' need to have the parking for their clientele and their needs at this particular site.
Very good. Council, is there any more questions for Scott? Any more concerns on this issue?
I've got one, Mayor, if you don't mind.
Councilman Allen? Sure.
I know how you can share parking in regular areas. Can they do that here too? If, say, somebody builds a building next to them, and they could share it, and it wouldn't cause no problems then either, would it?
Absolutely. If you have an adjoining property owner that develops next to them, and they're, for example, running low, we see this all the time, they don't have enough parking to support, and there's overage on the next lot, then they can get into a joint use parking agreement and file that with the city, where the balance of that is tied to the property. The city accepts that as well.
I can see that happening out there in that area a lot, so I don't think it's any problem. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Any more discussion, council? At this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve the rezoning request to amend the PD as requested by the applicant.
So moved.
I have a motion by Councilman Parsons, sorry. We have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Councilman Myers. Any more discussion, council? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. That one is approved. Our next item is to consider and act upon 4 resolutions of general support for each of the following applicants who wish to file for housing tax credits within the city of Granbury. The first one being a resolution of general support for Herman and Kittle Properties Incorporation. The second being a resolution of general support for Prestwick Development. The third, a resolution of general support of Realtex Development Corporation. And the final one is a resolution of final support for Atlantic Housing Foundation. And like I mentioned earlier, any of these requests outside these resolutions, if the people out there have submitted these to the city secretary, we'll take a look at these, and the council will have a copy to review for any further discussion. Council, is there any discussion on these resolutions?
Can we clear up whether we have 4 or 5 properties?
I'm sorry, Councilman.
Do we have 4
Mark?
or 5 properties?
We got 4. There was 5 and it was removed. Which one you got there?
Well, down in the attachments, you've got 5, and it talks
Marquee
about
was-
5 being a part of it.
Marquee was removed, Councilman.
I guess since I've been on council, we've approved 300 or 400 of these, it seems like. Haven't had any luck getting any of them built yet, so good luck, guys.
And here again, we're at this time, we're just approving the resolution.
I understand. Well, no, none of them have ever come any further than that
that right?
resolution.
It's just part of an application process.
Pardon me, yes. Council, any more discussion? I'm going to go ahead and do these individually then, council. I'll entertain a motion to approve the resolution of the general support of Herman and Kittle Property Corporation. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion by Councilman Allen. Do I have a second?
Second?
Second by Councilman Couch. How's that? Any more discussion on that resolution? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. That resolution is approved. The next one being, I'll entertain a motion to approve the resolution of general support for Prestwick development. Do I have a motion?
I move it.
I've got a motion by Councilman Purple. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Councilman Couch. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. That resolution for Prestwick development is approved. The next one being, I will entertain a motion to approve the resolution of general support for Railtex Development Corporation.
So moved.
Have a motion by Councilman Allen. We have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Councilman Myers. Any more discussion on that one? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. That resolution to support the Railtex Development Corporation is approved. The final one is entertain a motion to approve the resolution of general support of Atlantic Housing Foundation. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion by Councilperson Myers. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
I have a second by Councilman Perkle. Council, any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. That resolution is also approved. Thank you, Council. Our next item will be to consider revised options and cost of construction of the Cityscape and BMX Park project. I'd like to call upon Aaron to give us a little history on this and some updates on it.
All right. Thank you, Mayor, Council, Manager. I would like to give just a brief update on the skate park. City staff met with Jan Curtis of Spa Skate Parks back in April of 2012 for the first time. And the city spoke about our desire to have a skate BMX park for the skaters and bikers to use. That would be a safe and a legal place to skate. Staff at that time asked council to provide some funds for the city to build a skate park. After some more talks with Spa Skate Parks, they helped us reach out to New Line Skate Parks. Spa Skate Parks is a construction company of skate parks. New Line Skate Park is a construction and design company for skate parks. We did sign a contract in 2013 with New Line to design us a Phase 1 and a Phase 2 of skate park. Yes, he's going to speak in just a moment. And in that Phase 1, the Phase 1 was to involve preliminary drawings and construction drawings to complete a Phase 1, and simply preliminary drawings for a Phase 2 at a later date. I would like to introduce Speaker Jan Curtis. He has a presentation with some pictures as well, and then I'd like to make the final closing statements after he's through, if possible.
Thank you, Aaron. You want to give us your name and your address?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Council, City Manager, Mayor. My name is Jan Curtis. I co-own Spa Skate Parks out of Austin, Texas, along with my brother and business partner. I've put together a slideshow here for everyone here today, just to further Aaron's point on where we are with this project, where we started, how we got here, and what we're intending to do at today's meeting. Excuse me, today's presentation is going to be a little bit more about our company and how we've been involved to date with the project and hope to be in the future. Modern day skate parks, I would like to show you 3 examples of some current works that we've done in the last couple of years for comparison, and then talk about Granbury Skate Park in particular, and then have a time for questions and answers if you have any. So our background, we are out of Austin, Texas. My brother and I started this company in 2007 after having owned a private indoor skate park in Austin for 5 years. As we saw trends move, we closed the doors on that and became the construction company that you see today. We've come a long way. We've done 18 projects to date in the state. That is, building skate parks is exactly what we do. It's our exclusive scope of work. We are a full service. Actually, we do design and build. Our design component has been New Line Skate Parks. They typically are under us as a design sub-consultant in the case that we have a design build project. In this case, because the city decided to do a design portion first, we still want to keep our design build team and all the value that it brings our clients together. So I therefore said, New Line Skate Parks, you should contract directly with the city if they allow and do the design work exclusively. I've played at this point a supportive role for the community to make sure that what the community wants in the skate park they get. And I can assure you that they can attest to that has happened. Me being from Texas, having grown up here, and doing all the work that we do, we know how to differentiate this project from others and make it a real success. So that's why I'm here today, in the hopes that we can continue by having Spa Skate Parks build this phase of the portion of the project. This is a partial client list of ours. As I said, we've done 18 to date in the state of Texas. I won't list them out here, but more locally, we're currently in Arlington, Texas. We've finished a really nice project for the city of McKinney, Texas, which I have a few slides on here shortly. Conroe, Cedar Park, pretty much across the state. And happy to say that each one of those clients comes with a very nice reference. So a bit about modern day skate parks, and I apologize for some of the folks here because they've seen some of this information before as I've presented along the way during this design journey, what a modern day skate park is. Back to the McKinney Skate Park for reference, this is about a 30,000 square foot facility. It's probably about 2 acres worth of land. It has everything under the gauntlet, and not to get too technical on skate terms, but there is a bowl, a pool, a replica ditch. I'm sure if there's any ditches in any area, the skateboarders will occasionally skate it. So instead of having kids go there to skate, which may be a dangerous environment, we like to incorporate a lot of those street elements and things they'd find out in the natural environment in a skateboard park. And this is it on opening day. All the plans are designed as built, obviously. The bottom left there, you can see what looks like a replica swimming pool. One of those we have designed in some variation for the city of Granbury, so we hope to incorporate that into the design as well, and we'll get to that here in a second. We like to do some theming with our skate parks, not anything hokey, but little things here and there that, again, differentiate this park or any park from any other. So we're proud to say that we don't have a catalog of designs. We don't come to you and push certain things. This journey so far has been the culmination of several input meetings with the community. And what we did is that first time, got everybody together and got their input on what they'd like to see by way of features and terrain. The second time we came back with a design option, and we furthered that design, and then we had it out downstairs, I believe, for an open house of sorts for anybody who'd like to view it. Nothing has changed on the plans since then. We are finalizing those plans, or I should say New Line is finalizing those plans. But back to that's where we are now. Back to the photo here and themes. We know Granbury has the lake. We know they have freshwater clams. We know about Comanche Peak. So these are some things that the community has told us to try and include, again, in a very responsible way. So for the purpose of this photo here, McKinney's motto is unique by nature, so we would like this monumental piece in the middle there to act like somewhat of a tree trunk. So we try and do what we can. Beautiful Mountain Skate Plaza in Beaumont, Texas. They wanted to call this thing not a skate park, but a skatable streetscape. And I really like to show people this because that is truly what we like to do as designers and builders of skateboard parks and as skaters ourselves, is to replicate the environment in a way that's just perfect for a skateboarder. So gone are the days where you have a concrete slab with a chain link fence around it and a bunch of bolt together metal ramps on it. That is definitely days of past. So here's a couple of photos of Beaumont, Texas skate park, which we completed last year. We were also the general contractor here. Our scope included landscaping and irrigation and some skate shots. And I'll just buzz through this one really quickly. This is close to our home in Cedar Park, just a few miles north of Austin. This is the design quality that we have for Granbury currently. Here's a built or as-built shot. And you can see just where we're going with this is not a big square concrete again. You have landscaping, there's different colors, different textures, all things that kind of break that hard surface to where it's more of an inviting space for the general public just as much as it is excellent skate terrain for the users, the intended users. So what we find a lot of times is parents will bring their kids here, have lunch themselves. There might be some people playing soccer down the way, and then they have one of their kids at the skateboard park, all at the same area. In fact, what I say, the analogy that I say is skaters, they're not hooligans and everything we think they used to be. Skateboarders nowadays are the soccer kids of the 90s, so, and I'm sure we can all attest to that. Just a few skate shots here. So Granbury Skate Park. And again, this is the portion where some of the folks here might have already heard me speak about this stuff, but I did want to get the council familiar with where we are and how we got there. So as you already know, the city of Granbury has approved the development of a modern site-built concrete skate park, and that is a little important to mention the site-built concrete. Again, with no catalog, this has been tailored and designed specifically for the site that we have outlined and we've been given, and I'll get to that here in a minute. An open space within Granbury City Park has been identified for construction of the facility, and as I just mentioned, this will, we hope, when we intend, will be a great place for socializing and general public space in addition to a great skateboard park. And I'm not going to go through all this, but I did want to mention a few things. We have broken the design into 2 phases to get things into budget. I've already gone through some of the theming that we were given by the community and have integrated into the design. One of the big things that we were told during these input meetings was to create a sense of flow and balance of the obstacles. And I'm happy to say that we've done that in both designs, and I'll show you that here in a second, but both designs independently have that characteristic. Both portions of the park are also, or both phases rather, if you'd like to call them that, also cater to all types of skaters in the different terrains. So we're not excluding anybody by which decision we're making here today on the route to take. And working drawings are at about 90% is what my understanding is after having talked with Aaron and Trevor from New Line Skate Parks. So we're in this phase now where we're wrapping up that and we're ready to mobilize here very shortly, given your approval. For the council and everybody here attending today, this is where the location that we were given in City Park. To give you some reference, it is that outlined red there, that square. Across the street is the disc golf course entrance. Just to the left of that are several soccer fields. And if you continue on going left on that street, you'll end up at Aaron's office at the Parks Department. And this is, I'm going to go through and explain some of the designs here. This is what we've designed and what the community has accepted as the Granbury Skateboard Park. The trees are there for illustrative purposes. As skate park contractors, we prefer to put all our funds into the hard surface to make the skate park as big as possible. And I'm proud to say, and I can tell you this confidently, that we have done just that. So to look at this a little, stepping backwards a little bit, or stepping back, the right side of the image is essentially one phase, and the left side is another phase. Again, all types of terrain here are included in both phases, but at the same time, I want to reiterate that the combining of two phases is so much more than just one independently. Than, you know, having one and not both. Having both is a lot better. It provides a lot more terrain type. The bottom of the image here is the parking lot that's existing already. So parking is not an issue, that's for sure, near those soccer fields. We've tied it in at a few places along that current sidewalk that wraps around City Park. And that's a great place for us to tie into the skateboard park. This is another shot of one of the phases. This is what I call maybe a hybrid portion of the skate park. It's not an encapsulated, fully enclosed pool or bowl, but it does have a lot of that transition elements that skateboarders like to see. And you can also see, of course, the rails and the stairs and the ledges and variations thereof that make this one really unique. Ideally, we like to include some of the natural stones that we can find here in the area to kind of beautify the area. And there's been talk of trees being donated or purchased through the city to do the same. There is a deck, what we call a deck, around the entire thing so people can walk around it safely without having to skate. The purpose here is to have seating either safely inside or safely outside the skate park so people can sit safely if they're not skating themselves. Two things to note, we were told by city staff and the Parks Board is they would like to include, or we would like to include, some signage. That signage, I believe, would say City of Granbury Skate Park. That is still, if that's not what the city wants, we will do what they ask. But that would be prominently displayed on the backside of one of these skate features. So when people come up, there will be no qualms about what this place is. And it will also, and secondly, one of the profiles of the features will be that of Comanche Peak. So I wanted to get back to some of the theming here. Just the top of it will replicate the profile of Comanche Peak, which I thought was a really good idea, and that was suggested by one of the folks at the community input meeting. There is integral colored concrete. I'm not sure this is an exact illustration of the different colors. Right now, I think what we're explaining here is, you know, the darker colors is a bank or transition versus a flat surface. But part of this package will include quite a bit of integral colored concrete. And by that, I mean the concrete is colored all the way through in the mix of the concrete. So if there is anything that happens, it can be washed, sprayed, and the color is sound. So I was hoping this would show up correctly on your screens. I wanted to explain with this design board shot here, the two different phases that we're contemplating or we're presenting to you here today. What we'll call option one is the right side, which is going to be everything from the red line to the left of the A running vertically to the right. And option two would be everything from the yellow line to the left, the yellow vertical line to the left. We've added from the original, we didn't change the design, but what we did is we incorporated that vertical strip of concrete that the A is on in between the red and yellow lines to make that option two that much more functional. So now a skateboarder can get at the top and essentially do a big circle all the way through the skate terrain, and those features have been placed there in a way that allows them to do so. And then, of course, if they'd like to be at the pool, which is the bottom left, they can obviously skate there. Our options for pricing are as follows. Phase one, which I just called option one, came in just over the budget that we were given for construction, which was anywhere from $250,000 to $300,000. not to exceed 300, so we did come a bit over there. Option 2 or phase 2 at 245 is actually not even on budget, it's below budget by $5,000, and we're really happy we could have done that and spread our money and our resources so thinly to provide you with this and offer it here tonight. Both phases together are less than the sum of phase or option 1 and option 2 by nature of the operations of scale, bonding, insurance, and resulting in 1 mobilization of construction versus 2. So there's savings there of almost $40,000. Wanted to tell you a little bit about what kind of value we're getting here for both these options, and that being said, all 3 options. Alvin Scott with purchasing, I've talked with him through Aaron about using the TAPS purchasing cooperative to do so. It's very similar to a buy board purchasing co-op, if you're familiar with that. Much like that, the city of Granbury is a member of TAPS, and if you were to buy, say, as an example, the analogy had been a fire truck, that doesn't necessarily have to go out to bid. They've already been pre-approved through this program to do so, so you can buy directly from them at guaranteed low prices. So we are qualified as construction of skate parks to do that through the TAPS program, very similarly to what I've just described. That being said, as part of our TIPS offering to the city, in any city, we offer a 1% discount on the construction cost, and that has been reflected here, so savings of approximately $3,000. On top of that, because of the very nature of Spa Skate Park's relationship with your designer, New Line Skate Parks, having designed and built as a team for so many years, since 2007, we have the ability to provide you with the phase 2 or option 2 final design plans for free, or as part of this pricing scheme here. That's because, again, we work so closely and we find that there is value in both of our teams working together step by step from the beginning through the end on all these projects. Alvin Scott has called some of our references, I know, so they've done some investigative work there already. We, as a company, are also available to start now, in a month, whenever you guys give us the go-ahead. The intent there, and why I'm bringing that up, is I sure would like to see these kids be able to skate in the late spring and certainly before summer, and I can assure you that would certainly be the case given your approval tonight. And then on top of that, as a skateboarder, myself and my brother, we love to be a part of the grand opening ceremonies. So if there is one being planned, we can help with that through our connections in the skate community to make this a really big success. So with that, I certainly appreciate your time, and I hope it wasn't too long-winded, but I wanted to get everybody on the same page and offer you these 3 pricings. Thank you.
Go ahead and stay up there for just a minute, please. I, for one, have a couple of questions that I want to direct this to you. What kind of events do these skate parks bring?
That's a great question. In fact, when we first approached the city and we got word that there was interest from the city to build a skateboard park, tourism was a big factor in the design of this thing. And that has been, we've kept that in the back of our minds the whole way through. So to answer your question, there are local events. If you have a skate shop here in town, we know that there was, but there isn't anymore. I would suspect that much like every project we do, if there's not a skate park, or a skate shop rather, there will be shortly. So you can see some economic impact there. And surely they'd be asking you for permits to host local competitions, just here in Granbury. Stepping out a bit further, there are established regional events that tour. And in fact, we have connections with them, and I would certainly love to entice them to come here, as they have done with several of our parks in years past, as part of their Southwest tour. It's called the RAT Tour, Regional Amateur Tour. It's gaining a lot of traction. And what we're seeing is some of these things actually taking hold. So whereas they're not exactly as structured, and they never will be, in my opinion, as structured as a football league or soccer league, but these things do exist and do bring quite a crowd. So, and in fact, we did the city of Conroe's skate park 2 years ago, and the RAT Tour came through there, and everyone was really happy about the hundreds of people it brought from actually across the region, because if you're part of this regional tour, you want to skate at all and participate at all the stops to enter into the finals. So with that being said, I'm very confident that you'll see a direct and economic impact by people coming here for tourism purposes.
So there are events within the state, or probably maybe outside the state, that once they hear about, you have this type of a skate park that will accommodate such events, they'll come to. I get is there fees with that people pay to enter into these events?
Typically, yes. So I would imagine that the organizer of, say, the Rat Tour that I keep mentioning would have to come to you and present their package, whether or not you just say, yes, please, and you can charge them the $25 entrance fee, just assure us that you have so many people coming into town, or whatever your stipulations may be. But yes, it is typically a paid event per participant.
Can you talk a little bit about the safety of these skate parks? With your experience, what did you experience with the safety of a lot of the skate parks? I know you
Sure.
don't say they're unsafe, but
No, yeah, so skateboard parks, on a list of injuries per participant, skateboarding, believe it or not, many people laugh when I say this, is mid-pack among all the major sports. So what I'm saying there is football, soccer, gymnastics, and there's a slew of others that are above skateboard park participants or skateboarders. So very safe would be my answer. I'm not going to sit here and tell you there won't be any injuries. There certainly will, but I would say no more than you'd have out there for a soccer game or tournament of some kind that you already have. And as far as liability for the city goes, I'm sure this has already been worked out because we're at this point, but Chapter 75 of the Texas State Code includes skateboard parks as part of your general liability program. So much like when someone trips and falls or hurts themselves on a pedestrian pathway in a city park or in a swimming pool or at a basketball court, skateboard parks are just included in that now.
does your proposal, does it include the lighting, the fencing, the landscaping, et cetera, all that?
No, sir, and we've talked about this at length with Aaron and the folks at the Parks Department. Our best use of resources as a skateboard contractor would be to simply put the skate park in, so just the hard surface, meaning turnkey earthworks, survey, earthworks, the building of all the ramps, painting. So at the end of the day, when we leave, what you've seen in that image there on all those images would be in place. What the city has talked about doing after the fact is they've set aside some monies to install some trees, landscaping, stones that I had mentioned earlier to beautify the area.
Very good. Council, is there any questions?
I got
Councilman
some.
Allen.
I've got about 3 there for you.
No, you can't ride a skateboard on it.
I'm going to ride the bull during Independence Day.
Said it for everybody, but I don't know about you.
Did you say that you used to own a skate?
Yes, sir. The
How come you-
skateboard park.
How
Yes,
come
sir.
you get out of it?
I'm sorry?
How come you got out of it?
It was called the Skate Park of Austin. It was a 20,000 square foot facility, and we had a daily entrance fee. We had a concession stand and a fairly large pro shop. And it was a month-to-month business, to be honest with you, because our overhead was so high. And what happened is, while we got transitioned into here is, along with the economy back in the day not doing so well, we had this trend of cities calling us and asking us for a skate park similar to ours. And obviously a wooden skateboard park is not an ideal situation for a municipal park. And this is at the time when in Texas, skateboard parks had really been on the up and up and still are today. So that's when we decided to close those doors and start this one. So in 2007, we began a project and completed our first one for the city of Kerrville, and it's been a great ride ever since.
Our economy is not the best either right now. But how many skaters on phase 1 would you say who could skate at one time?
Sure. So let me preface that by saying there is a skate park etiquette. It doesn't need to be told to anybody. It just happens where people take turns. So I would say there's not a certain number, but I will tell you that everybody who's skating there will be riding safely and take turns in doing so. You'll find that if you're there for 2 hours, you're probably skating for 30 minutes. So while you may have 50 people there, 10 people are skating. And so to answer your question about any concerns that there might not be enough space, I can tell you that it is not a problem.
All right, the next question is it gonna take an acre, 2 acres? How much land is it gonna take?
It's that the location there, there's plenty of space. We've been given more space than we need for phase 1 and phase 2. So I know space is not an issue. I think either one of those phases is well under an acre, to answer your question there. So we're doing just fine by way of space.
All right, last question. Under your average cost to finish it up, when y'all walk out, what do you think the average cost of the city? You built 19 of these already. What do you think it costs the city taxpayers to finish it out with the landscape, the fence, the irrigation, and the trees? Just from average, just an average.
Yeah,
of
I
what
think
y'all done.
a typical design build skate park can be $40 to $45 a square foot, something like that.
For landscaping?
And then landscaping would be on top. So
No, the question I'm asking is, let's say we went with phase 1. We paid $313,000.
yes, sir.
You walk away. What's it gonna cost the taxpayers for us to hire a contractor to come in here and put the landscape, irrigation, the fences up?
Yeah, I
Like
think
any-
that this is where Aaron comes into play because he's thought this through a bit more than me.
Okay.
I can answer that question for you. We would be doing the landscape and irrigation in-house. I do it all the time. I am a horticulturist. That was my background before I came to work as a Parks and Rec superintendent. I've done commercial, residential installation of landscapes, bidding, design of residential. So that's really my strong suit. That's where I prefer to do.
I can appreciate what you're saying. I've been in that business for 20 years. But they don't give that stuff to you.
That's correct.
We might know how to install it, but my question is, we still got to pay our employees.
Right.
I mean, if we got employees, we can just turn loose 20 guys, go out and do a deal for 2 or 3 weeks or a month.
Sure.
We got too many employees somewhere, but that's a different story.
Right.
But what do you think, let's just back off and say, what
Okay.
would the material cost? For the
Okay.
fence, the landscape, irrigation?
Well, we don't plan on doing any fencing. We'd like it to remain open and inviting. We don't want to have it locked up. Since we don't have a final complete design, I haven't done any pricing on landscape or irrigation. I know we have water available from the soccer fields. And as far as purchasing of trees, we do have funds that we have been accumulating over the years just for this. We have anytime a developer comes into town and removes any trees, they have an option to provide park space or pay into a fund for landscaping improvements of parks or park improvements. So we have already investigated that, and we do have funds available.
How much funds do we have?
I don't know the exact number because there's two different accounts. But if I'm not mistaken, it was somewhere around $60,000. Is that $86,000? Ava was researching that for us earlier.
That should be plenty, really.
Oh, yes.
And
yes.
if Kroger comes in, it wouldn't, and they're projected it at 243,000 or something like that? Yeah, I mean, it's,
we
Explain that, Wayne. What did you say about Kroger?
whenever Kroger comes in, they're gonna have to pay for the, the
Removal of
those trees.
Goes into that fund.
And I thought someone said 200 and some odd thousand. I think Scott just left, right? You think it was less?
I mean, the only reason I'm asking, Andrew,
It is over $200,000, so this tree fund is really excellent for our parks, and so we're.
we use that money to pay for this park.
Well, we gotta put in trees, no.
landscaping or irrigation.
That's what we're gonna use the fund.
Oh, that's all you can use it for?
Yes, sir. And we've already acquired some boulders at no cost. The lot across from HEB, they said, come get these boulders. And we've large rocks. We've already got some native limestone rocks to use in the landscape. And the landscape on this skate park would be mainly trees and sod. I don't see us doing a lot of large beds. You really don't want a lot of mulch around, things, for mulch to blow or wash into this park. It's mainly going to be a lot of sod and some nice large trees.
So if we spend $100,000 on the parking lot behind the Opera House when we redo it next week or two, that's not gonna hurt us financially with our funds, is what you're saying, Wayne? We got plenty of money? Yeah, when we redo the parking lot, we're gonna landscape it, and put the lights and trees and stuff in it, and we're gonna have plenty to do both, is what you're saying.
Yeah. We can do the landscaping. I've had a chance to get a ballpark price on the landscaping for that parking lot, and that was gonna run around $11,000. Of course, that's not set in stone. That's with the preliminary drawings that I had looked at, and I did just a quick rough estimate on square footage and things, and price trees. So,
Yeah, but we're gonna use the rock from the Opera House for a lot of that, so.
Correct.
From the back wall, so.
I had one concern when you mentioned that we don't plan on putting a fence around it. I visited several, didn't participate in any of them, but I visited several in the state here, and they were all fenced in. Is there a reason for that?
Yeah, I can speak to that. I'm curious to see or hear which ones you went to, because the trend now, what we've seen since we started, and the majority of skate parks in the state are unfenced.
Well, one was Marble Falls, wasn't it?
Yeah,
and
okay.
they're fenced in, and
Yeah,
for what
so
reasons, I don't know.
so it goes along with our ideology of keeping this as a public space and not a fenced-in cage mentality. Because if you have a caged-in mentality, you're going to get caged-in mentality type activities. Whereas if this is inviting space like we intend it to be, and because liability is not an issue for the city anymore, you're not setting any precedents. You're not the first of anything. This is another skateboard park just like any other.
Well, if you had it in, and I don't think ours falls in that category, but if you had it in an area where you had homes around it, I don't know that people would want somebody out there skating at 2 o'clock in the morning. So there would probably be a need to restrict it. Probably fencing would be the way to do that.
Yeah. So. Sorry. Yeah.
Go ahead,
I
Aaron.
can speak on that. All our parks have a 11 o'clock curfew.
And that is within the park.
Yes, within the parks. Yes.
Okay.
Mayor, I do have one more question.
Go ahead, Mr. Allen.
I don't know if this is to these gentlemen or to Wayne, but I'm familiar with buy board. I'm not familiar with the other one you're talking about. But we're talking about spending up to $500,000 here or more. Wouldn't we be better off to get other bids on this or not? Why shouldn't we if we don't? Other thing, is there any, you didn't answer that question, but the other thing is there any parks that's similar to what you're gonna do close by that we can go look at?
So the first part of that question was, is this good pricing, essentially? And let me just restate some of the reasons why this is, in fact, a very good value. Not only does it go right in line with the other 18 based on square footage and scope of work, this falls right in line, if not a little, slightly under what we would typically charge. And additionally, as Aaron had said earlier, that New Line Skate Parks has designed full design for one side of the skate park and not for the other. So this option 2 here, if we were to do that first, say, we would, because of our relationship with New Line, be able to provide you that portion of the design as part of this price. And being architectural rates as they are, that could be anywhere from $20,000 to $25,000 that we're willing to take here.
I know you understand what you just said, but I've never been on a skateboard yet.
Gotcha.
So, do what,
I
Mayor?
hope you don't do that.
Thank you. But I don't know, people might pay to see me. But what I'm saying is that we got to answer to the taxpayers, every one of us up here. And, a guy can come in here and say, hey, I'm going to sell you a load of rock, and this rock is special, and I got the best deal in town. But do you get a competitive price? You don't know that, number one. Number two, y'all are the only skateboard installers that will offer it in phase 1 and 2 and not just 1. Is that what you said?
No. Well, okay. Could you restate the question, please?
Okay. You said that you was offering us a phase 1 and phase 2 with we could do part of it or all of it. Are you the only one that installs skate, parks that would do it in 2 phases?
No, I'm sure it could be performed by several folks. We are the only skate park contractor in Texas, if that matters at all. Yeah, I think one thing I haven't mentioned yet that I'm glad you led me to bring this up, of the 18 parks that we've done, and we've only done 18, every one has been done on budget and on time. So I'm not coming in here guns blazing, a fictitious number or nothing that I feel confident about telling you. So this, I would consider a guaranteed maximum price.
We'd have a contract, I guarantee that.
Yeah.
And
It's
the other
gotta be
thing,
not to exceed
But I'm
2.5.
thinking, just like the buy board, we buy off the buy board because they've already gone through.
I understand that,
bidding company.
I understand that, Wayne, but you got one company in the state of Texas that manufactures these or install them. We got one electric company in the city of Granbury, we know what our rates are. So, I'm just my personal opinion, we're spending $500,000 of taxpayer money. I think we need to get more than one bid. If they're in Kalamazoo, I don't care. I just think it's only fair to our taxpayers, that's all I'm saying.
Okay. And that bidding process has already taken place, and when it's been approved, if I'm understanding properly, it's like a buy board purchase. So, we can go and do individual bids, but we buy a lot of things off the buy board. And you're saying $500,000. We recommended to do it in phases because the savings we thought was, we brought back something that was in budget. Phase 2 is under budget, okay, with $250,000.
Phase 1 is not in budget,
Phase 1 is not in budget. That's why
No, it's
we
not.
brought back phase 2. Okay.
but we're not doing both of them now.
We're not. Yeah. If you don't do both of them, then we're fine with phase 2. We have the money. That's why we waited and came back with a phase that met budget.
So,
But all of this is input from the community and from the citizens. This is what they wanted, and so we basically broke it into phases, one that fit the budget and one that did not. We just wanted to show you that phase 1, we can discuss that in the upcoming budget process and see if we want to go after phase 1 at that point.
Could you discuss what the bond package is and what we have left and what's available then?
The bond, this was, help me on that in terms of what we had in the budget. Huh?
2007? Okay. Right.
And that's what was approved in the budget process.
That was approved in the budget.
So we'd have to come up with about 100 and, no, yeah.
Not phase 2.
About
Now, what they've told us that phase 2 and phase 1 can stand alone, they would recommend only for an interim period of time, and then go in and build the other phase later on based on the recommendations from the community. So, that, and phase 1 required really to go over the budget, so that's why we broke it down to a phase 2.
Yeah, each phase can stand on itself, on its own merit as a proper skateboard park. So a phase 2, doing phase 1 or 2 now would not mean that you're committed to a second phase down the road. Only if the council and the community want that, and the community that I've spoken to want it. But you're not locked into another $313,000 later on down the road if you choose phase 2 first.
Is there a park like in Arlington, is it close to this price, or is it higher or lower?
McKinney Skate Park was $2.1 million. Arlington is at $1.2 million.
Do you have anything close to this?
Yeah, we have plenty close to this.
I mean, the only thing, is it bigger than this building? I mean, I don't understand it.
The skate park is about,
I'm not against it, I just don't understand what we're getting for $1.
sure. So option 1 is about 7,700 square feet. So very large, to answer your question. Phase 2, as shown here, 245, is about 6,000 square feet.
77,
Much larger than this room.
it'd be like a 300 by 230, 300 foot by 230.
And some of these, you can see here
Big.
for reference, we have a guy skateboarding in this bowl, for example, to give you a sense of scale.
And just so you know, Phase 2 has the bowl, which was very popular. People like to go into the bowl. Phase 1 is more of a, what you call it, a long,
Yeah, you're talking about the,
longboard type.
not necessarily longboard. Longboards could skate there, but the right side of this image here is what I call like a hybrid. It's not an encapsulated bowl. It's not necessarily a dedicated street sports area, much like the left side, but it's a combination of both. And the left side of the page, which is the less costly of the two phases, includes that encapsulated replica swimming pool, essentially. It's a variation of that we try and do in each and every one of our parks, and a street course area as part of that triangular path there. But again, each are mutually exclusive, and you combine the two, and I think the sum of those two parts are greater than individuals.
When I met you, it was either this last TML or the TML before, or when I was talking to you, the mayor from Cedar Park came up and talked about their park, which had opened, and I believe it had been open for maybe 2 years at that point in time. But in your presentation there at the TML, you had a picture of that park, and it showed a crowded skate park on opening day. And the mayor of Cedar Park told us at that point in time, and like I said, I think it was about 2 years after it had been built, that at that point in time, that park was still as popular and attracted as large a crowd on a pretty regular basis as much as it did on opening day. So in Cedar Park, at least, this park is extremely popular, very well used by the community, and a very nice asset for their city. And I think that's why we brought it forward here, because we think it would be an asset for our city to have a skate park that we could be proud of, potentially could bring tourism, but something that our kids would enjoy.
Yeah, I didn't want to, I had that in mind. I've had, as far as other people's experience with their skate parks after the fact, and much like Cedar Parks, we quite occasionally get mayors and parks directors who we've dealt with in the past say that the skateboard park is the most popular and most used parks facility that the city has to offer. And I'm really proud to have that, but I didn't want to come here and boast that to you, but I'm glad you brought it up, Mr. Parson.
What was the price of their park?
That was $450,000.
So it'd be close to what we're getting.
Yes, sir.
Where's Cedar Park at?
That's about 10 miles north of Austin.
From where?
North of Austin.
North of
Yeah.
You got a lot more people there, too.
Yeah.
You scared me a while ago when you said, you may have 10 people there, and they'll skate 30 minutes at a time in 2 hours. Let's say 100 people showed up. They wouldn't get to skate very long, would they?
Yeah, I guess when you get to a skateboard park, you hang out with friends, you skate for a little bit, and then you hang out with friends, and I think at the end of the day, you look back and say, I got that trick I finally wanted, and that took me accumulatively 10 minutes, and the rest of the time was just fun being out there. So it's not like a, enter the gate, start, go in a circle for 2 hours and leave. It's quite the opposite. So
I don't want to sound negative, but I'm an old guy. My skates was on the road out in front of my house with a pair of skates on. So, but my grandson, I know he would jump on it and love it. I really would. But
yeah,
I'm not, and there's a lot of other kids that would enjoy it. So.
there's a legitimate push for skateboarding in the Olympics, where we have a slight hand in that. New Line Skate Parks plays on the board of that. So to give you some reassurance about where skate parks or skateboarding as a sport is going, it's on the up and up and has been for some time now.
Mayor, I have a question down here.
Councilperson,
I know we've just about beat this dead horse, but Councilman Allen asked a lot of questions that I was going to ask, and I'm surprised because he doesn't have a grandson that's been at skate parks. But my grandson, who's 11, goes to the McKinney skate park quite a bit with his dad. So do you have any other communities our size that you've built this type of skate park, phase 1, that has been able to attract any of these tours when we think about tourism? That's my first question. And do we have one that we can go look at?
Sure. The answer is yes.
I'm thinking about that bowl, because all kids love the bowl, and we're not going to get that in the first phase.
Well, that's not, I mean, the less costly of the two options I gave here does include that bowl.
Oh, it does, okay.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
so you can take either option?
Yes, ma'am.
You can tell I'm the junior person on the council.
To
But I've
answer-
been to seen the big skate park, so this
Yeah.
one, I'm
Well,
just
McKinney is that's our kind of prize right now. It's the biggest park we've done to date. Cedar Park and this one, Conroe, Texas, those have both had tours, the tour that I'm speaking of in particular. I think this would be more enticing for a tour of that size to come here when we have the two phases together. But the first phase, whichever one you choose, would certainly cultivate the skating community here first. And to have an event of that size and stature come here, they would want to see that this is a place worth going and there's a desire for skateboarding. And to answer your question about skate parks of this size, I'd say the majority of our skate parks are presented in exactly this way, where there's a grander vision. And so I'd like to kind of take this as not as a dividing of the park, but this is just what we do as designers, is present a grand vision given the stipulations that we have, budget being considered obviously, and this being an opportunity to grow and even better the park that would exist as a phase one.
Is there any reason why when you come back, because you've already done business with us, if we gave you this business, that you couldn't complete the second phase for the same quote?
Yeah, I think we should be able to do that. I mean, it's a benefit of having us do the first phase is that we know exactly where to tie into with drains and just everything else. Because we work so closely again with a designer, that's part of the value that we bring as a team. So that kind of connection would follow through this and any subsequent phases.
So either way, we'd still, if we came back with second phase, would save $40,000 if we.
Oh, well, no, I'm sorry. That's the savings there is essentially the savings of one mobilization for construction, along with some economies of scale for costs associated with insurance and bonding and stuff of that nature. We can revisit, but worst case scenario, it would be the 313 that I'd offered there for the second phase if the other one was to be chosen, or vice versa. But that being said, we would certainly work some numbers to make it more amicable for the city.
Councilman Couch.
Well, I would be inclined to go ahead and support the phase two, see how that works, what kind of demand we get. And then maybe in the future, maybe look at some sponsorships that maybe might be some corporate money out there that would want to have their name on some of this stuff. So that's within budget, and I think it'd be exciting to see the demand, and if there is what you're suggesting there's going to be, then phase two or phase one would not be far behind. So
And
that's where I'd stand on all that.
yeah, happy to say that what was presented here by way of design has, again, been culminated and cultivated through the input of the community. And I've talked to several folks that they came in tonight and explained the phasing options. And I think we're seeing a positive response either way.
I just wanted to add, you had concerns about the citizens and the price, and Parks Board did have some initial concerns, and that's why we did come back with a phase two. But they are behind this. Just want to let you know that Parks Board is behind this, and they've worked with me from day one, over a year now, and have really been pleased with all the other parks that we have seen that they've done. I know you probably get tired of this, the research has been done online, but you can look at parks they've done versus parks done by others, and you can see a definite attention to detail. And you can almost pick theirs out. So,
Have we got a member of the Parks Board out there? I'll tell you what, let one of them speak. I'd just like to hear, because, we have these boards set up, and I really like to get some input from the boards, because I know you guys work really hard, and you take these things on, and so
we appreciate that, and Julia also. We've been working on this, the park board's been working on a skate park for almost 20 years now. This is the farthest we've ever gotten. One of the reasons that we wanted to be able to have both phases, if we build phase one, or phase two, and then come back in a later date, I don't think we would get phase one at the price that we have here, because of course the cost of equipment is going, cost of materials is going to go up. You've seen the number of children that are skateboarding all around town. It's a safety factor. It's an annoyance to business owners. We feel very, very strongly. We have voted unanimously on this. We have been working on this for, actually, Aaron said a year, working with him on this. We've been actually working on this a lot longer than that. And we hear constantly from the public what they are looking for. And one of the reasons that we don't want something, say, for example, a fence around it, it's the open flow into the park so that it's all a very beautiful thing. We've had people come and comment on the beauty of our parks and the openness and the spaciousness of it, and we want this to be in that same feel and continue with it. I think that, I know money is tight. I know you've got parking lots to build and things of that nature. The park board's personal preference is this be named the City of Granbury Skate Park. We want us, or the City of Granbury, to be identified with this rather than any corporate individual if they wanted to put in money, but not to put their name on it. This is the City of Granbury.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, may I ask
Councilman Allen?
one more question,
No,
Mayor?
it won't be one more, go ahead.
Okay, I got two in one. Okay, she brought up a great question there about the pricing. Like you got it now, phase one, phase two. How long was you gonna hold that price for one of them, if we broke it down? You talking about 2 or 3 years, or?
How long would we keep this pricing
The
stuck at?
313, as I understand, that was going to be held for a period of time.
Oh, I see. Yes, so assuming, sure thing. Assuming that we start with a phase two, I mean, I really can't commit a time. I can say it will be some time that we'll keep it to that point, but seeing as materials increase and just costs in general increase, I can tell you, 6 months won't be a problem, but concrete changes on a dime, steel changes on a dime, and
Up or down?
and up or down. So that's kind of, for me to say, I'll keep it there for 3 years. That would be doing myself more than likely a huge disservice.
But maybe a year you'd be okay. Our budget's in October. What I was thinking about for the second phase, if we look at then. The other thing is, when you start it, the day you start, the day you finish, what time limit do you give on that?
Yeah, so from groundbreaking through, we're done with our portion of the skate park, and maybe the city's putting in some grass like we've discussed earlier. 3 months.
3 months.
Yeah, and I do think that's a big positive is, for me, and I'm sure you guys would agree, that we'd want to get these kids in here before the summer when they're out of school and can really enjoy it.
Do your company offer a penalty? Let's say you got 3 jobs to go do all of a sudden. And Granbury's a small one, of the $1 million job and $1.25 million, and we get put off. Do you have a penalty in there, anything over 90 days that y'all pay us X amount of dollars, anything like that?
Typically in our contract, we do not, because it's never been an issue. We have signed contracts with that in place. I can tell you it's never been an issue for us. We have the capacity to do multiple jobs, and assuming we decide here today to do one way or another, you're first on the docket. So currently, we would start, and we would not be slowing you down.
Well, I've been burnt as a councilman 2 times in 3 years. I don't want the 3rd time.
I've heard about one in
Nothing against
particular,
your
and
company.
I wasn't going to bring it up.
Okay, thank
But
you.
I can tell you that our references are strong. The city's done some of that already, and Aaron's done his research too, of course. So for me, living here, doing what I do, I'm sure anybody in my position would say this, but I truly do mean it. My reputation is everything, and since 2007, I feel like I have no blemishes, and I
You
plan
live
to
here in
keep it that
Granbury?
way. I'm sorry?
You live here in Granbury?
No, I do not, Austin.
Oh, I'm sorry. I said
Yeah.
living here.
Oh, in Texas, I mean,
Oh, okay.
sorry.
But we had a guy that lived right here in Granbury that we should have put a clause on and we didn't do. That's all I'm saying.
Well,
Hate to stop this, but I'd like to second this motion down there and call for questions.
Let me summarize, and that's what we'll do here. And answering your question, Councilman Allen, you know, the last statement here on the consideration, the construction company would be in Granbury for at least 3 months and would likely to stay in local hotels, dining in local restaurants, and the company will also local materials and contract transportation, all that possible. So that's a plus in itself, I think, too. So, Council, I'm going to summarize it and had a call of questions. So the staff represents the council to allow for the following 3 options, and I think we've got a motion on one, but just so you understand that the approval for phase 1 was submitted for $313,555. The Parks and Recreation Board has recommended to release this phase to bidding process, or number 2, to approve phase 2, which I think they have a motion on. Phase 2 would now be referred to as the new phase 1, and the price would be revised to $245,025 due to the extra area to take in for the access. Or option 3, build both phases for a total cost of $519,420, which when you combine 313, 245, it comes to 558, something like that. So we're going to save possibly $40,000 if we was to do both of them together. But if we choose to do phase 2, we can get pretty much everything we need and possibly go in and build phase 1 at a later date. Is that something?
correct.
So now at this time, council, I will entertain a motion for either one of these. Mr. Couch, you want to resubmit that motion possibly?
But, Mr. Mayor, I'd like,
I'm sorry, go ahead, Mr.
could we talk about what funds are available? We say that we had the 2007 bond fund, and at some point in time, we thought that we wanted to build a park for $250. Now we come back based on what community input, we find this bigger number. Could we look at what's in the 2007 bond fund? Is there something there that we're not going to do, or something we could change, or what all is involved in that dollars that's left?
There's really no money left we haven't allocated. In fact, we were allocating, as you know, when we saved money on the boat dock, on the fishing pier, we allocated that to the payment of the opera house.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, that's the recommendation.
That's all in 07?
07, and the opera house was in 07 as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, at this point, there's nothing, if it had been extra, we would have allocated maybe even more, from 07 to 09. They've all been,
So once again, at this time, council, I'm looking for a motion for the 3 options that I've rolled out there. Do I have a motion?
So I'll make a motion to approve, I believe it's option 2, which is phase 2, of $245,025.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Couch to do phase 2, referred to as the new phase 1, at the price revised to $245,025.
I will second that if Mr. Couch will agree with me. Anything over 120 days, it'll be $1,000 per day back to the city. That gives you an extra 30 days.
I will allow that.
Okay, we had an amendment to the motion here. Let's hear the motion again. What's the amendment?
Motion is to approve phase 2 for $245,025 with a penalty paid to the city of Granbury if construction exceeds 120 days at $1,000 per day.
Can we just clarify that that contract's going to be off the tips for the buy board type process, right? That's what
Right,
Yes,
you're
sir.
wanting it off the tip board, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we have that motion, council.
I second.
We have a second by Councilman Allen. Council, is there any more discussion on this issue?
I'm assuming 120 days would include, I mean, there would be excuses for rain days and tornadoes and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, if I could interject for just a minute. I'm okay with liquidated damages based on a reasonable time for construction. 3 months is something, and my brother takes on the construction side of things. I don't. I gave you an estimate. I think 4 months might be more real, 3 to 4 months. But to have $1,000 a day after that, I think that's a bit. I've never heard of a project this size having that kind of liquidated damages, and I don't really think that.
But you're the one that said 90 days. I'm giving you an extra 30.
But you're certainly holding me to it, so I can appreciate that. What I'm saying is, if it was 3 to 4 months, would that be an issue for the city?
I just don't like deals we've been in the past. I'm sorry that it's you.
So what do you find adequate as far as the construction period?
Yeah, I'd be much more comfortable with 4 months.
That is 120 days.
That's what I said.
Yeah, well, I guess 4 months, so 120 days? Yeah, so I guess I meant to say 5 months, but that would be also inclusive of weather and what have you.
There would be a weather clause.
Okay.
Now you want 5 months.
I'd like 5 months for comfort. Just know that when we start a project, we don't go anywhere. We'll be living here. So it's cost me more money to move. I've never done it. When I start, we finish. So if it's 4 months that we need to do to make this happen, then I'm okay with it. I prefer 5 months. But if it is 4 months,
I'm
so
going
be
to
it.
stick with my 120 days because that's giving you an extra 30 days. We're going to have rain days in there, so you should be well protected.
Okay.
Okay, I have a motion and I have a second. Any more discussion about it? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. So the approval is the phase 2 with the new phase 1, and the price would be revised to the $245,025 due to the extra taken in, and also the 120-day clause. Thank you, Council. Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
I think we have another item, don't we, Wayne?
Two more.
Okay, Council, our next item is to consider and approve the City Council rules and procedure. As you know, we try to do this at the first council meeting after the elections, and you've had a chance to, I'm hoping that everybody has read through the rules and procedures. This is our opportunity to make amendments, to changes, or even add to at this time. Council, do I have any changes or add to? I would like to recommend one to the council, and that being the change to 6.2. If you look at 6.2, that's when we put the items on the agenda. But I would like to change that to from 1 council person to 2 or more, and also have this item identified at the council meeting of who put this on the agenda so that they could have discussion on this issue. And I'll let our attorneys draw that up as such.
What's the reason for 2, Mayor?
Well, one of the reasons for 2, Councilman Allen, is I feel like if one person puts it on and it hasn't been discussed with anybody else, then when you go out there and you bring it up, then we get overwhelmed with issues that nobody knows anything about, you might say. You
Well,
follow me out,
I guess you
Councilman
look at.
Allen? If you have 2 people, if you have 2 or more people that have discussed this and short of a quorum, then these 2 people, or at least 2, you can have more, that have brought this to the table, then it has a kickstart already that there's more than just one person that's wanting to put it, and it doesn't get personal.
Well, I understand what
Now,
you're
this
saying.
is just a recommendation from me. The council doesn't want to approve it. That's all right.
I will discuss it seconding that because two heads are better than one. And the thing is, if you know going into the meeting that what's going to be occurred, you can do some research. Sometimes we're hit with stuff that we haven't been notified of, really personally, maybe by the computer, but still, there's times you miss things like that. I would agree with that.
And I'm not making the motion.
I know, I'm agreeing with you.
I would prefer to leave it like it is. I've been here when it was the 2, or maybe more, as I recall, and we changed it, and I haven't seen us being overwhelmed or inundated with people bringing superfluous or unnecessary items to the agenda. So I'd just soon leave it like it is.
I guess I'd be fine to leave it. I like the idea that we identify the councilman that places it on the agenda.
Okay.
That I have no problem with.
But I'm just thinking, I know that wouldn't be this council would have an issue with this, but future council, you may have a council member that, you know, has an issue that isn't
That only he knows anything about.
right, or the other council members are simply against the idea, but yet maybe the public welfare is in that interest. So, and if it becomes an issue in the future, there's always the opportunity to come back to this. So.
Mayor, I agree with you that whoever puts it on name should be on it.
I'm gonna ask again, is there any other items as the council wants to change or amend here as you go through this? You have a chance to look at them all?
Can't recite them all, but
You'll get there.
I've looked at them all.
So can I get a motion on my, on the 6.2 where we identify that person at the council meeting?
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve the rules of procedures and as promulgated or put in our packet here with the addition to 6.2 that the person putting on the item on the agenda is identified in the agenda for that meeting.
Thank you, Councilman Parson. Do you have a second?
Second.
We have a second on that. Councilman, any more discussion on the rules and procedures? Or on that issue, I'm sorry. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. That part is added to 6.2, and attorney draw that up. The next item is to consider and approve an ordinance amending Article 1.5, 13.02, 13.04, and 13.08 of the Granbury Code of Ordinance to adjust the master fee schedule and to provide for a critical care customer policy with regards to utility buildings. We'll have Ms. Ada Gregory talk about this one, please.
Thank you, Mayor, Council, City Manager, City Attorney. As the Mayor has highlighted, this agenda is to address the need to update and amend our Code of Ordinance for the pertaining to utility billing, as well as the master fee schedule section of the utility section of the master fee schedule. In our continuous efforts to address bad debt and to reduce bad debt collection and the theft of electric and water services and the tampering of electric and water meters, we feel that it's necessary to amend these sections of the ordinance. The first section, the 1302, is revised regarding to the residential utility billing deposit. Currently, we are charging $100 deposit on one service and $150 for electric and water services. But this, in the majority cases, this does not cover the cost of service. And the attached ordinance requires a deposit to be based on an estimate of cost of service for 60 days with a minimum of $150. We also making a small amendment to the acceptance of the letter of credits. We are currently accepting letter of credits, and we will continue to accept letter of credits, but we are requiring that it does not indicate a late payment status. That would be the first section. The next section we are proposing to change is to add a critical customer care disconnection policy. We currently don't have one. We are proposing to mirror the Public Utility Commission's policy. So with this, we want to cover customers who have been diagnosed by a physician as having a serious medical condition that requires an electric-powered medical device. And in order for them to be considered a critical care customer, they have to fill out an application with us. And what we will do is their utility service will not be disconnected for a period of 60 days after the bill has been issued. The third amendment, third section, is section 1304. This is just to amend the utility discontinuation of service policy to include the critical care customer policy. And the fourth section is we would like to amend our fee schedule. We would like to add the fees for customers who tamper with their electric and water meters. We have currently many customers who turn themselves back on after we disconnect their services. And this is not only dangerous for them when they tamper with the electric meter, it also turns them back on after their service has been discontinued for non-payment. We are including penalties for first, second, and third offense, $100, $150, and $300. And we also will charge them for the cost of damaging the meter. And in addition to these fees, customers who are tampering with their water meters, they will be required to install a full open water valve on the discharge side of the water meter. And this is consistent with our current plumbing code, where we require all new construction property owners to put a water stop on their side of the property. And the last amendment to our fee schedule will be asking to add a fee for a trip fee. This would help us reduce the number of times city staff is called out for customers to reread their meters after the initial read has been completed. We have customers who numerous times call over and over again for the city staff to come out and read their meters. And this would prevent from that happening. Of course, we will read the meter if we need to. There is one trip fee will be included quarterly for free, and if there is a problem with the read, we will not charge the fee. We believe that these fees will help us recover necessary expenses relative to provide services.
Thank you, Ava.
Thank you.
Council, is there any questions for Ava? One thing I do appreciate there, I didn't realize that a lot of this stuff was going on, and to put these penalties or these things in place would maybe hopefully prevent some of that. I honestly didn't know you could go turn your electric on and off yourself, but I would never try it myself. I didn't know you could water.
Yeah,
But
most of
also
us
it protects some of the people that do have it, and I think we've run into this a few times, especially with severe weather and stuff, where people don't have the ability to get to pay their bills or whatever, and it's up a little late, where if they have the doctor's statement or the physician's letter indicating that we could at least relieve that a little bit longer than what we can. So I think that's something good to put in place if we, people think we are in a retirement community, probably have a few people like that out there. So, I appreciate that, Ava. Any more questions, Council?
I would like to add, if I may, we had hired a utility billing manager, Cindy Klein.
Cindy?
She's been with us for 3 months, and she has done an extensive research on this. We have checked with other cities who are implementing the same fees, so this is nothing new. And this will be just a great policy to help us encourage customers, discourage them from tampering with their meters, for sure.
And something I might add, Council, we correct me if I'm wrong here, we will put this out in the billing and also some way
Yes,
put it on
on the
paper to where
website.
people will be aware of this, alerted to this, that, if you tamper with it, you're going to get fined.
Yes.
All right, Council, if have a motion by Councilman Couch. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Councilman Parsons. Any more discussion, council? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. That is approved. Thank you. With that said, if there's no more discussion with the city council, this council is adjourned.